Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Good morning, depending on where you are, or maybe it's evening for you. Welcome to the MRCT Center's webinar on Your Voice Global Impact, joining the Clinical Research Glossary's annual public review process. I'm Sylvia Badorf-Cassis. I'm a program director here at the MRCT Center, and I'm joined today by Erin Muehlbrod, Dr. Erin Muehlbrod from NCI EVS, who will be joining me in discussing the public review process and really how you can get involved and really the impact that this glossary is having truly around the world. So thank you so much for being here today. And let's go on. So next slide, please. So some tips and reminders. I mean, nobody's new to Zoom, but you can use the Q&A function to put in your questions. Please use that as a way to track any questions that come up, and we'll do our best to answer in real time. We have closed captioning enabled, and it's also available in the bar below to be able to turn that on for yourself. Over the course of the webinar, there will be relevant links that are dropped into the chat, and my colleague Kaylee will be doing that. So thanks in advance, Kaylee, for doing that. And as noted on the first slide, and questions that come up again and again, yes, the slides and the recording will be available after the webinar. It usually takes about a week to get up, and it'll be available on our website. So, and everyone who's registered, whether they attended or not, also gets the slides. So, and an email notifying them that it's ready. Next slide, please. So before we get into the meat of the content, just the typical disclaimer on the part of the MRCT Center is that these are our opinions, opinions of the speakers, and they're not intended to represent positions of Brigham and Women's Hospital, Harvard University, or any other entity that's here today. The MRCT Center is supported by a variety of different voluntary contributions, but regardless of who funds us, we remain committed to the autonomy of our research and our work and the transparency in our relationships. So we at the MRCT Center retain responsibility and final control of all of the content of our products, results, and deliverables. Next slide, please. So in terms of the overview and the objectives, this is again all about the clinical research glossary, giving you just a taste of what the process is to creating it. Some of you may already be familiar with it, but if not, this is a great sort of introduction. It's also a great refresher. And then we'll get into the public review process and how that has really in many ways, even though it's such a simple thing, has revolutionized the way that this glossary is created. And sorry, we just had a little technical glitch here. So in terms of the use case, then next we'll have some use case examples as well and some audience Q&A if there's any in the audience. And so by the end, we hope that you can describe the clinical research glossary development process and the role of public review in that and how to participate. And also how the glossary has been implemented, as well as opportunities to use the glossary in your own work. Next slide, please. So the MRCT Center, for those who aren't familiar, is a research and policy center that's been around for about 15 years now, and we're focused on addressing the conduct, oversight, ethics, and regulatory environment of clinical trials. And the way that we do that is to engage diverse stakeholders from around the clinical trial ecosystem to not only define and identify these emerging issues in global clinical trials and often also the persisting issues in global clinical trials, but then to work together in a pre-competitive way across industry with patients and patient partners, nonprofits, pharma, biotech, regulatory, government agencies, all these different folks coming together to implement ethical, actionable, and practical solutions. And really practical being focused on what can people who are in their day-to-day jobs, day-to-day work, really use to support ethical and really understandable clinical research processes. Next slide, please. And so, just as a quick highlight, we're only about 6 months into 2025, and it's been a bit of a roller coaster. But in this time, we've got 23 active projects still rolling along. We have 732 unique work group members continuing to volunteer and bring their expertise across industry to our different projects and deliverables. We've had to date 10 webinars and forums, and so this doesn't even include the webinars this week. We've got three this week, so the numbers are ticking up. And in those webinars that we've had so far, over 1,000 registrants with over 44 unique countries represented. Public comments continue to go out despite the climate of public comments being rescinded. Where we are able to provide comments, we provide public comments still. We're publishing and continuing to get the word out about our resources, disseminating widely. Next slide, please. And so I pass it on to Erin. We're going to do this a little bit of back and forth. It's a little conversational, so that she can share a bit about herself and the Clinical Data Interchange Standards Consortium, who MRCT has had the pleasure of partnering with over the last few years and really helps to make this public review process a reality. So Erin, take it away.
Thank you, Sylvia. Hi, everyone. My name is Erin Malbrot. I am a contractor for the U.S. National Cancer Institute's Enterprise Vocabulary Services, and I have had the distinct pleasure of getting to work with CDISC for most of my career with EVS in the development of controlled vocabularies to support all of the CDISC data standards. So as Sylvia mentioned, CDISC stands for Clinical Data Interchange Standards Consortium, and they are a standards development organization that in a nutshell, develop beginning to end data standards to support the life cycle of clinical and non-clinical data as it goes from the study plan into data collection, data tabulation, data analysis, and then all of that data being sent to global regulators so that those regulators can then look at that data and approve those medicines and procedures and other kinds of therapies to get to patients as quickly as possible. These data standards, so we develop, or CDISC develops data standards and control terminologies to support those data standards. Those standards are developed through a community-based consensus standards development process. And we'll talk a little bit about that. And that includes how we develop our terminologies to support all of those data models as well. And we'll show you a little bit of that in some upcoming slides. Many or most of the CDISC data standards that are developed and in production and publication to date are required by regulatory agencies across the world. So that's CDISC and my role specifically, just to kind of bring it back to what we're doing here and what we're talking about here today. My major focus with CDISC is to help them develop, maintain, and publish all of their controlled terminologies through.
We may have lost a little bit of Erin there, but she works with me very closely to make sure that we get these terminology passed through the standards process. And she's part of the word definitions process, word selection, word definitions process. So we're really lucky to have that partnership. And so I'm going to keep on going. And when she jumps back in, she will be able to catch up then. So on the next slide, what we have here is showing the CDISC's terminology pipeline, the standards development process for the terminology that really is a very technical process. But you can see that we have the public review files for CDISC, this sort of public review comment in the red box. being a real key aspect of the entire standards and terminology development program. And so, Erin, you seem to be back. You're not frozen anymore.
That's good.
So I
I
think
hope
you can
so.
take it away. I tried to jump in as best I can in my very plain language way of explaining
No,
CDISC process.
it was perfection. Thank you. Yeah, I'm not sure what is happening with my internet. I'm going to blame the wickedly hot weather
I
on the
think
East
so.
Coast for this. But anyway, we'll keep trying, and hopefully this works. But yeah, the big part when I was talking about that consensus driven standards development process, a big part of that, if you want to be considered a standards development organization in our world today, you have to do this public review step, and that's really what we're. This is the main focus of what we're here to talk about. Step is incredibly important to make sure that we are truly building worldwide global data standards within which everybody has been given an opportunity to be a part of that development process, public review being a really critical step in that. Next slide.
Thanks. I think I might be jumping in on this next one. So this sort of gives a visual of the MRCT Center Clinical Research Glossary. So you're going to be able to see that there, and Aaron is going to get through the really technical sort of aspect of public review as well. But the face of it and what we see in front of you is the landing page of the glossary. Many of you may be familiar with it already. We've got 187 terms on it already. There's 30 more coming out. Those are the ones that are going through public review right now. And if you click next, you'll just see how the terminology, when the terms are presented, then you have the plain language definition in the top left there. But also then the example, like many other glossaries, example of the use in a sentence, more information for people who want to drill deeper. And then other info to think about when joining a study. So we really thought about in that bottom light blue box about how to present some information to participants about what they might want to think about or consider when they see a particular term in a patient-facing material, what questions they might want to ask, or what more info they might want to be able to find out. You'll also notice that every one of our terms has some sort of image or graphic associated with it. And so we've been working with a graphic designer and a graphic design team here at the MRCT Center who we're really grateful to for their insights and really their user experience kind of approach to this and thinking about how to make images available. And then we have other resources as well linking below. And one of them, of course, for all of them is then they link when they're a CDISC term. You can see in the top in the middle, there's a little CDISC logo there. And when you click on CDISC and click next to, please, Kristen, our wonderful slide jockey, she is showing us basically now that the terminology has its C-coded NCI EVS, so a part of CDISC, the NCI EVS terminology that is linked to this plain language definition. So it's really, I mean, again, I don't want to be too overstating of it, but the idea that we're taking something that is really plain language, but integrating it into a technical standards environment is actually pretty innovative because we're thinking about ways in which we can globally consider plain language as a way to communicate about clinical research and making sure that we are talking in a harmonized way, that we're equivalent in terms of when we're talking about trial phase, we're talking about this standardized definition of trial phase that has a technical definition, yet also this plain language one that matches it one to one. Next slide, please. And so just very high level user stats for the last 6 months. Again, we're just talking about 2025. On our website, the MRCT Center's glossary had 4,731 active users. There have been over 119 countries represented in that user population, with the top being, as you see, starting with like the USA, which isn't surprising, and UK, I guess English speaking languages, but also going down to having China, Australia, Germany, Spain, France, all of these included in our top 10. So really interesting to see the global reach. But again, the number there being 119 is pretty interesting and phenomenal. Next slide, please. The other thing that I just thought I'd share is like the top words that are searched. So these were the top 10 words that come up in the searches, like PK study being one, synergistic effect, but really getting into some of the standard basics, what we consider clinical research basics, informed consent, clinical trial, an arm, serious adverse event. So it's really neat to see that we have like these kind of technical terms that are coming up quite a bit, but also that we're meeting a need for some of the more what I would say foundational information that people need to learn and understand to really feel empowered in clinical trials. Next slide, please. And so the process of sort of the glossary writ large is that we go through an annual like word selection process. Now we're in steady state. We've been doing this since 2020. We became sort of steady state active in the last 2 years or so, in that we're now flowing through approximately 30 to 40 words every year. And we have our team that goes through this word creation process to public review and release. And so we select words in the summer, so that's starting right now. We define them from September through May. We refine them in that same period of like going through a development team, which has over 20 individuals and includes patient and patient partners and advocates, and then also has a review team, which is all patient advocates. And we've got young people, high schoolers in that. We have seasoned patient advocates who've been doing this for a while. Just this wonderful swath of individuals who are reflecting their lived experience and ensuring the definitions are clear to them. And then we get to the CDISC public review, finalize, and release. And if you click twice more, please, you'll see that we've got right the June public review, which we're in right now, the September release. And so you're really, we're right here now inviting you. Now I get to sound like an infomercial. We're inviting you today to be part of our public review. And, the lines are open for you to do so. And all the way throughout the year, we're developing images and that supportive information. Next slide, please. So this question came up already in the Q&A. I answered it in writing there, but we welcome feedback all year round. So just because we have public review now doesn't mean that we're not open to hearing what people think throughout the year. We want you to suggest new clinical research terms that should be defined and added. We want you to submit comments on existing definitions or other content on the website if you think it could be changed or improved. And same with the images. If there's a comment you have on an existing image that you really want to be able to share with us, please do so. And you can also get involved through our Contact Us page by learning how to share with your network and review definitions during the annual public review. You can sign up at any point during the year to get notifications for when this opens. We also use support in considering translation into other languages. You can be notified when the next release comes out in September. And one thing we'll be touching on a little later as well is these use cases, these implementation stories. If you have a story of how you're using the clinical research glossary, we want to be able to feature that on the website too, to really start building the community and the sort of the way that we share out about how this is making a difference and being used in patient and participant facing materials, but also within clinical research teams as well. Next slide, please. So it's open now. And we have 31 definitions up for review. You can review those proposed definitions before they're released and share it with your network. And you could really help us expand our reach to more patients and participants, advocacy organizations getting involved in review, community-based programs like federally qualified health centers or other kinds of community groups that are doing work, clinical research professionals who are really the ones that are interacting with participants and can really comment on what terminology is coming up as difficult or can help review what's being proposed to ensure it is understandable to patients and participants, and even the medical writing community. We're really trying to expand to have that reach go beyond where it's already been. Next slide, please. So there are two pathways. There are to giving feedback, and we have one that was developed by the MRCT Center to be a one-shot deal, a red cap survey, and I'll go into brief detail on that. And then we also have the CDISC Wiki Jira, and that is that technical way. And so this is also really an invitation to anyone who's already involved in CDISC, has their CDISC Wiki Jira account, or wants to sign up for one to be able to get involved with all the public review they do. I mean, this is not the only thing that's up for public review. There's a whole package of different things that get reviewed every year. So Erin will go through that as well. So first, I'll just quickly note the MRCT Center process. Next slide, please. And so that one is really just involving that simple survey. And we just ask that people put their name and email address into the document so that we are able to validate the entry. And it also allows us to do individual follow-up about how the comment was addressed. Next slide, please. And so here you can see that this is what the red cap survey looks like. And if you click one more time, please, and then one more time, we can see that when you actually come to the page that has the definitions, you'll have the term, the definition, and then whether you can accept the definition or not. So I hope that most people can say yes, but we are open to the no's. And so the no, when you click no, you can actually then describe how the definition should be changed or what your concern or comment is. So we're open to hearing what you think. Next slide, please. And so now I'll pass it along to Erin, who can share a little bit more about CDISC's process.
Thank you. Yep. And next slide, please, Kristen. So as Sylvia said, there is the actual public review file. It is a Microsoft Excel file. It contains a couple of tabs. I'll show you what it looks like. There's a README that includes general content explanation, as well as a really lovely write-up about the MRCT development process if you're interested in more of the nuts and bolts of that. And then there is a tab in that file. The tab name is MRCT, and it contains that list of, I believe it's like 30 or 31 terms, along with their plain language glossary definitions that are currently in draft status and are out for this public review process. The file itself is named with the package number that is associated with the CDISC control terminology package number within which the MRCT file is bundled up into. And for June 2025's public review, that would be package 60. So so that file that you're going to pick up, that you're going to be looking at it's going to be called terminology underscore P60 underscore MRCT. And again, I'll give you the visual to show you where you can find that file and what it looks like. So we started public review on back in the beginning of June, and that public review will run for 4 weeks, and it will end on I believe it's a Saturday. We gave an extra day just because the 4th of July is a U.S. holiday, so we will shut it down on the 5th of July. And I've given you links in these slides, and I'm seeing that Kaylee or Kaylee, I believe, is also sending links in the chats to where to get these things. So next slide, please. So this is what the file looks like. It's very simple. It's that Excel kind of tabular structure that we found that most humans like dealing with. And so there are 30 or so new terms, and there's a single, and then in a tab called changes to existing, there is one change to an existing term. And as you can see on here, the way we visualize a change that we'd like to make is we use a strike-through font in what is currently published and out there. So in this case, we are interested in updating the definition of this concept. So it's already out there and published. And so we put strike-through on the old definition. And then in the red definition shows the new update that the MRCT development team is proposing for that one change to existing. Next slide, please. So this is where you can find this. And I did see that Kaylee sent over the link to this page. So this is the, when Sylvia was talking about that CDISC wiki site, this is a visual of CDISC's wiki site. This is a page specifically dedicated to CDISC control terminology public review. So as you can see, there's an announcement that describes what is in this public review package for package 60. And then click one more time. And there are also instructions on this same JIRA page that tell you exactly how to create a JIRA comment. So JIRA is a tool within the Atlassian suite of tools that Wiki is under, that actually allows you to collect review comments from individuals. So that just gives you, there's instructions on how to make those public review comments in Jira if you want to go that route. But I want to remind everybody here that there is also that red cap route that Sylvia just talked to you about as well. We're just trying to make this public review step as accessible as possible. So whichever way you want to do this is the correct way, and just pick whichever way is easiest for you. And then finally, click one more time on this slide. And then you'll see as you scroll down that CDISC wiki page, you'll get to the full list of files in CDISC package 60 terminology public review. And one of those files, I think it's closer to the top, I think it's about the fourth one down, is that terminology underscore P60 underscore MRCT. And that is that's where the MRCT file is located. Thank you. That's where the MRCT file is located, that you can then download to your desktop and start reviewing. So next slide, please. So you're probably wondering, how in the world do I get access to CDISC Jira? How do I actually set this up for myself if you want to do this? So Kaylee has just given you the link. When you get to the landing page of the CDISC wiki, there are instructions on the top right-hand side of the page that will give you links on how to create your very own username and password to access the CDISC wiki site. And through the CDISC wiki site, you can link to CDISC Jira. So Wiki and Jira, because they are linked together, you will use one login username and password for both sites. So you're going to log into the CDISC wiki to pick up that MRCT file, public review file, and then you will also use that same username and password to access the CDISC wiki to make your public review comments. And I believe, Sylvia, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that that MRCT file is also available from the the terminology file is available from the MRCT site as well, if you choose to go in and make comments through that way. Okay. So that's how you get yourself a CDISC wiki. And click one more time, please, on this slide. It's very simple to sign up to get an account. It's something that you do on your own. You don't need to wait for an administrator on the CDISC side to get your sign up done. You're just going to put in your full name, your email, and then make up your own username and password. And then click that blue sign up button at the bottom there, and you're going to be good to go. So that's how to get access to CDISC wiki and Jira. Next slide, please. So if you are choosing to go through and make comments through CDISC Jira, I'm going to show you some visuals on how to actually create and submit comments. So again, giving you that same link, and thank you, Kaylee, to be sending these links out so quickly. So this is that link you're going to use to get onto CDISC's Jira project instance, so you can start submitting comments. You will be required to log in. The login is on the top right of the box when you access that link there. And then you're going to click the Create button at the top of the page, and next slide. And that's going to bring up this form that you see on the right-hand side. The form is called Create Issue. So there are a number of drop downs and fields in this form that you're going to want to fill out, starting with the red arrows at the top. The project you're going to grab from that drop down box there is called Controlled Terminology, and then in parenthetical CT. The issue type is a review comment. The summary field is a free text field where you're going to, in about 200 characters or less, you're going to summarize what your comment is. Something else that you're going to want, two more drop downs that you're going to want to access are the drop down for the components, and you're going to pick MRCT. This allows us to make sure that you are that your comment is being routed to the correct team that is going to then disposition your comment. So that's important too. We can usually figure it out, but it's easier if you fill that in through that drop down. The package number is, again, for this package, it's package 60. So there will be a drop down that includes the number 60, and you're going to click on that for the package number on that next red arrow going down the list. And then you are given a much longer free text field under what's called description. And that's going to be where you're going to put kind of the meat of your public review comment. The best kinds of public review comments are ones in which you fully explain yourself, as it were. So what we want to hear from you is, why don't you like it, and how you would like us to fix it, or your idea for the best way to fix it to make it clearer. And so that is, so that's what holistically we'd like to see in that box, please. And then under review period, you can set it to public review if you want. Next slide, please. And then going to once you've filled in everything on that form, you're going to click the create button and that's the one at the bottom in blue. And you're going to click that create button, and it's going to submit that. It's going to create that JIRA comment for you. At the top of the page, once you hit create, you're going to get a little box at the top of your screen that's actually going to give you a receipt number. It's actually a number that the JIRA system generates that is the number of that JIRA ticket that will continue through the life of that JIRA ticket. So what I like to do when I'm submitting public review comments is just note down what those JIRA numbers are, so that if I need to go back into the system and find them, I can. There's also, if you see more than one thing wrong and you would like to continue, if you have multiple public review comments to submit, there is a button next to that create button at the bottom there called create. I think it's, create another. And so if you click on that, a lot of that information that you filled in originally, like the project name, the component, the package number, all of that stuff will stay stable on the form that then will pop up for your next comment. So you don't have to find all those things in the drop downs. If you have any issues with accessibility at all, and I think I can say this for Sylvia as well, and you all, I know you know all how to get in touch with Sylvia, but if you have any issues with accessibility through CDISC Wiki or JIRA or anything like that, or if you just want to ask a question about anything related to CDISC controlled terminology or how MRCT does any of its things or whatever, I've given you my email address in there, and I would ask you to please use it whenever you have questions, especially related to the CDISC public review process. Next slide, please. So public review comments, and Sylvia is going to talk about this as well, but public review comments really, really do make a difference. There are plenty of instances where the team takes these very, very seriously. Plenty of instances where public review comments have shaped and changed MRCT language. And this is true for CDISC terminology as well. This happened. I just want to show you an example of what this looks like. Last year, back with package 58, we had a concept out for public review within the MRCT set called procedures, and then in parentheses study. So it was concept of study procedures. We received a number of public review comments concerning this term. One of the public review comments we received was about the term itself. So there was an issue. The person who was publicly reviewing the term felt that the chosen preferred term by the MRCT development team wasn't exactly correct and could cause some confusion. So a public review comment was submitted for the name of the term itself, And then we got we got 5 public review comments from a variety of organizations around the comments specifically related to the definition of the term as well. So ultimately, with package 58, we looked at all of these comments together, and after careful consideration of those comments, the MRCT development team decided to update the preferred term from procedures parenthetical study to procedures parenthetical for participants. And then they also updated the definition as well. Next slide, please. And I believe, Sylvia, this is back to you.
Sorry, wasn't unmuted. So regardless of whether you follow path 1 or path 2, all the comments get transferred into the CDISC wiki for tracking. So we'll all go in there and Aaron helps to manually enter it. Kaylee helps to manually enter it. But we transfer it over so it's there. And then they're reviewed and addressed by the clinical research glossary team, showing exactly how that process, like what Aaron just showed in terms of the comments that we get, how we think through them, how we make the changes. And it's really this hallmark of this process is to have this transparency so that every reviewer who submits a comment receives a personalized email, and a summary of all the comments and how they were resolved is on the public CDISC website. And so again, the new glossary content is released in September. So we do this now to get it ready for September with all the new content and images as well for those 30 words. Next slide, please. And so you saw a little sneak peek of some of the terminology just based on what Aaron showed in terms of the spreadsheet and what it looks like on the CDISC side. This is just the list in a very simple form of all the terms that are going through public review this year. So if you have any curiosity about how they've been defined and you want to check and see and give us your thoughts on it, please do feel free to go in and use that public review link and go into the REDCap survey or the JIRA to enter your feedback. Next slide, please. And that change to existing term, this is actually from the REDCap survey. There was a change suggested to the word phase, the term phase, actually removing the reference to device, since the phases don't actually apply in the same way to device trials. And so that was a really good comment that we got throughout in the course of the year. So again, to Marissa's question earlier, like, do you take feedback all year? Yes, that came in earlier this year. And then during public review, we are able to address it and reconcile it to update it for September's release. And you might be wondering why we aren't just updating in real time once we get an issue is noticed or whatever. And that's also so that when the new version comes out, because folks are actually integrating this glossary, its terminology into their own systems. We've had Excel downloads of this because we make the glossary available not only as the website itself, but as an Excel and as a PDF. So we've had 41 in the last 6 months alone, 41 downloads of the Excel that is being integrated into people's workflows. They're using it and integrating into their own internal glossaries, etc. So we have very controlled and pointed times for when we make updates and then notify folks who are our users so that they can make the appropriate updates on their side. And that's why we're also really transparent about what changes were made and what updates have come through, even on existing terms, so that everyone who's using our glossary is aware. Next slide, please. And so this is the call to action. So we've said it a number of times, but please join our public review process. There'll probably even be some time at the end of this webinar. Take 10 minutes to go through and do it now so that you don't have to worry about doing it later. And we just ask, that when you're doing this review, just remembering that these are plain language definitions. These are intended to be for the general public. They don't have to be perfect. And in fact, we kind of embrace a culture of non-perfection. We want to be accurate. So we're 100% want to be accurate, regulatorily and scientifically sound, and we want to be understandable. But that doesn't mean that we have to be like absolutely perfect. And so when you're going through the changes, just like what we do when we're developing the definitions and coming to consensus, we always ask ourselves, like, can I accept this definition? Like, Not, is this the most perfect literary Pulitzer Prize winning definition ever written by anyone? No, we just want to be able to say, can I accept this definition? And that is how we build consensus, that it's an acceptable definition that can move forward. And so we really tried to build that sense of we're trying to create this general resource of understandable information that anyone and everyone across industry, whether it's patients and participants or the medical writers, the sponsors, the investigators, clinical research coordinators who are developing materials that we can all use to communicate in more clear ways about research. Next slide, please. And then we just ask that you share this glossary, that you use it and you share. So you can share it in more broadly and generally, just sharing the glossary itself, whether or not you share out about public review. You can share out about the glossary itself. You can share your success stories of implementing the clinical research glossary with us. And you can let us know how we can keep growing this resource to best meet your needs with suggestions and updates being welcome. And the last slide that I have, I think, on this. Next slide, please, is that, we've been collecting the use cases of how the glossary is being used. And we know that there's many more use cases than what are featured here. But we're sort of in this process of compiling them into these single-use cards. If you click on the card, you get the larger case study of how that organization, whether it's Honor Health or Cure Mito, whether it's the Journal for the Society of Clinical Data Management who's integrated it, or MGB Rally, or Trican Health. If it's any, whatever group it is, whether you are doing it in your own health system. I noticed in the registration, we had people coming from a whole health system in Houston, that's here. We've got folks coming from other academic centers. We have some folks here from industry. If you're using this and integrating it and want to be featured on the website to help us get the word out, socialize how many different organizations are using this glossary and finding it helpful, we would love to include your story on our website. So you can definitely reach out to me or contact us through the Contact Us form to do so. Next slide. So I have to just give a special thanks to everybody because we have an amazing work group, the development team and the review team. We have an amazing expert advisory committee. I know a few folks from that are on the call today too, and I appreciate the guidance that we've received over the years to keep growing this resource. Our users, you all, are the ones we need to thank as well because you're helping to make research more understandable for patients and participants, and you're helping us get the word out. And I'm just really grateful to the internal team that helps to make this happen. We have an amazing communications team and graphic design team. We've got incredible MRCT Center leadership. Of course, the folks that are on the call with me here, Aaron and Kaylee, who are in these regular meetings with us, going through this all the time, and CDISC, who really had the foresight and the vision to include this in their really technical space and make space for plain language and patients and participants. So what with that, let me answer any questions because we're at like 12:45 here on the East Coast. So we've got a few more minutes for answering questions if you have any, if you want. And otherwise, I welcome you to fill out the actual review right now. We could even, if we go to the next slide, I want to make sure there's nothing else missing. Great, thank you, questions. We could even stop the recording here. Aaron, do you have any final words before we stop the recording?
No, I think we covered it. Other than to reiterate, please, please participate in public review. It's really important. It makes the terminology better. We love our public review community and we want you to be a part of this.
That is exactly right. We do love our public review community and we want you to be part of it. And last year we had over 50 individuals participating, and that's a great solid number. We had only 12 words coming out and we had a good number of participants. And so if we can exceed that, and again, like it's not to say that, there's anything wrong with the words. You can just review and say that you accept them all, that there's no issues for them, but it helps us with our tally to know who's actually completed them. And so what we could do is we could stop the recording now. So thank you for joining and hope you'll